Hey everybody, this is Rabio's blog, and welcome to my TV episode review series. Today's episode that I will be reviewing today is on the third episode of Marvel's Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. series, The Asset. Now, before I get into what I liked and hated about this episode, I would like to give out a brief summary on this episode. In this episode, when the brilliant scientist Dr. Franklin Hall is kidnapped by Ian Quinn, Agent Coulson and his S.H.I.E.L.D. team try to go and rescue him, and he's sent in S.H.I.E.L.D. to cause a distraction that can help the team easily rescue Dr. Franklin Hall. Can S.H.I.E.L.D. be trusted with this mission, or will she betray the team? Now, I must admit that this episode was a bit better than the first and second episode combined, and that's a good thing because that means that this show is getting better and better, even if it's taken a bit of time for the show to really hit its stride. There were many things that I've enjoyed about this episode, but what I probably enjoyed the most was the fact that this episode focuses on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s character and how she handles herself in a mission. One of the criticisms that I often heard about S.H.I.E.L.D.'s character is that she's too bubbly and can be annoying at times. Even though I personally didn't mind S.H.I.E.L.D.'s bubbly personality, and I thought it made her into a likable character, I was actually amazed at the fact that we saw a more serious side to her character in this episode. I like the fact that this episode shows S.H.I.E.L.D.'s insecurities about being in S.H.I.E.L.D., especially since she is supposedly also working for Rising Tide, and the fact that she gets some depth in this episode makes me have high hopes that we will start seeing more depth to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s character in later episodes. I also love S.H.I.E.L.D.'s growing relationship with Grant, as in the first episode they seem to be fighting with each other, but by the time the second episode rolled by, it seems that S.H.I.E.L.D. and Grant are growing closer to each other. And I love the way that Grant is willing to protect S.H.I.E.L.D., especially when she goes on her first mission alone. I also love the fact that Agent Coulson is actually active in this episode, as he goes on the mission to save Dr. Franklin Hall, and it was fantastic seeing him in action and fighting the guards to save Dr. Franklin Hall. Probably the only problem I had with this episode was that the beginning was a bit slow, and I was seriously wishing that the episode would reach the point where the story got more exciting. Although I will say that the second half of this episode really made up for the slow beginning. Also, this is just a small nitpick, but I actually wish that we saw more of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s relationship with the other agents, Melinda, Fitz, and Simmons. For the past two episodes, we mainly saw S.H.I.E.L.D. interact with Grant, and while I'm loving the close relationship between these two, I would like to see how S.H.I.E.L.D. interacts with the other agents, especially Melinda and May. I would like to see if S.H.I.E.L.D. and Melinda would either be friendly rivals or close friends because of their different personalities, and I hope that the future episodes will explore her relationships with the other teammates on a deeper level. Also, and this has more to do with the overall story shown, I'm kind of disappointed that there is no real meat to the stories that are progressing so far, meaning that I wanted to see what all these missions the agents go on will eventually lead up to. Even though it's only 3 episodes in and we probably won't see how all of these episodes will add up to the story arc until the end of the season, I wanted to see a connection between these missions that the agents are doing and what sort of plan or story arc these missions will lead up to that could affect the characters in the long run. Overall, I give the third episode, The Asset, a thumbs up. I'm really loving the development of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s character, and I hope to see more development from the other characters in future episodes. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the 4th episode of the series, and I hope that this show continues to improve over time. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this show or this episode yet, then please feel free to skip over this section. But if you have seen this episode and you wish to hear about what I think about these particular scenes, then keep watching. At the end of this episode where Dr. Franklin Hall ended up falling into his gravity machine, and at the end of the episode where it seemed that he was trying to get out of the machine covered in silver liquid, I was wondering what villain Dr. Franklin Hall would become in future episodes. Some fans have speculated that he could be Gravitron, and even though I don't read many comics that feature Gravitron, it would be interesting to see how this villain would affect the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and how he would affect the world at large. Well, that's my episode review on the 3rd episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Asset. And be sure to check out my other videos in the near future. This is Rabio's blog, and I'll see you later.